and welcome back to another episode, everyone. Today on the PlantFueled Femme, we have a guest, Terri Chrisman, and Terri is super passionate about helping people feel better, but most of all about helping people not die of heart disease. She is a plant-based certified nutritionist and has written a book on a fabulous health. And welcome to our podcast, Terri.
Thanks so much for having me, Clarissa. I'm really happy to be here. I love your podcast. I listen to it all the time. It's awesome.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yes, we try to get really useful guests on that, really are super passionate about what they do and really passionate about helping people. And that it's just logical to have you in here. It sounds like cardiovascular disease and learning how to prevent that through nutrition is something you are very passionate about.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about it because my dad died suddenly and unexpectedly of a heart attack at age 51.
Oh my God.
And I was 25. It was like a month after my 25th birthday. In fact, the last time I saw him alive was on my 25th birthday. It was really weird, actually, because I lived in a different state. So it was a 12-hour drive or a 1-hour flight away from my parents at the time. And they never came to visit me. Like if, I came to fly down for Christmas and holidays and stuff like that to see them.
Right.
But this one year, they surprised me. They flew up to Sydney. They live in Melbourne. That's Australia, for people who don't know. And to fly, for my parents to get on an aeroplane and fly anywhere was really, really unusual. And it was a surprise. So they just called me on Friday afternoon and said, "We're here." And I was like, "What?"
Where?
Yeah, exactly. And so we had an awesome, awesome weekend. And that was the last time I saw my dad alive. So I don't know whether the universe brought him to me for that weekend or not.
Right.
I'm not a religious person, but I certainly do believe that there are powers greater than we can ever understand on this planet. And so when he died, it was the greatest shock ever to me. And for a long time, I kind of blamed him. It was like, well, why did you allow that to happen? And the more I learned about nutrition, the more I blamed him. Like, what were you doing? Why were you eating those fried meaty things? And why were you eating donuts and all the bad things and not looking after your health? But basically what happened was, this is like the late 80s when he was alive, and he died in 1992. He didn't know. The information was not there. There was the doctors didn't tell their patients, "Oh, your blood pressure's high and you've got high cholesterol. Start looking after your body." They just gave him pills and said, "Off you go." And I know that there are still physicians to this day who do that, and that breaks my heart. But a lot of forward-thinking doctors now realise that there is a mountain of scientific evidence that lifestyle contributes greatly to heart disease, diabetes, obesity, all the non-communicable diseases, and that they will make an effort to help people. But at that time, my dad had no information, so he couldn't act, right? So after a while, years, I realised that he couldn't, it wasn't his fault. So I forgave him for dying, which sounds really selfish. But as a child, well, I was a young adult, losing what I would consider to be half of me, I was so devastated, left a big hole in my heart, and it's still there, and it's never, ever going to be filled by anything else. Not a husband, not children, not puppies, nothing. So I've kind of come to the realisation now that he acted with the information that he had, and unfortunately that led to his untimely death. And so I want to avert that with everybody I come into contact with.
Right. Yes, that is so powerful, Terri. It's just no wonder why you're so passionate about helping people with cardiovascular disease and helping prevent it. And you're right, they didn't have the information. It's the information that we have now is so different, and I know you've been in this space for a while now, so that studies that were done even in the 70s and earlier, some of those have been disproven. So if you were going on facts from 40 years ago, maybe they're not even correct anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And in fact, there was a doctor called Dr. Dean Ornish, who lives in Sausalito in California near San Francisco. And well, not there is. He's still practicing and he's awesome. And he's done lots and lots of studies on reversing cardiovascular disease using lifestyle modification. And back in 1990, his first major study came out, and he basically proved that you could arrest heart disease by eating a plant-based diet and doing other lifestyle factors, including getting good sleep, having connection to others, exercising, stress reduction, all the things that go into a healthy lifestyle. He proved it in 1990. Well, the Australian Cardiology Society said, no, that's not true, right? They said, I know, it's really weird, right? So they said, no, this is one study. Heart disease is either bad luck, a natural factor of aging, or genetics. And so they discounted the study back then. And I'm happy to say that now they don't feel like that because we've got 35 years of evidence to prove that lifestyle absolutely can change your trajectory of heart disease and even in some cases reverse it. So you're right. If the knowledge wasn't there, it wasn't there. And certainly if the Cardiology Society is refuting it, no doctor in their right mind is going to go against what they should be giving their patients, right? Because you want to protect yourself as well. You want to say, oh, okay, I've got to look after my patient, and these are the parameters that I need to work under, and that's what I'm going to do. And that's how doctors work, right? You know, they follow the rules. And they have to follow the rules, because if they don't follow the rules and they do something out of the box and somebody dies, it's their fault. So luckily, the rules are changing all the time, and they're changing towards more lifestyle-based evidence, and then more doctors are getting on board. So that's great.
Right. There's definitely some good new doctors out there, but I think there's a lot too that haven't conformed to the newer information, you know, and they're still, you know, operating in those confines of, here, let's just give you a prescription and this will cause a side effect and will not do anything with your diet. And it just creates this snowball effect to where the person is, you know, living a life that's so greatly decreased in value and enjoyment and productivity, when a lot of what they're dealing with is, you know, chronic lifestyle disease that can be traced back to, yes, those things that you mentioned, you know, working on your lifestyle, getting the sleep, changing your diet, moving is huge, because we're not designed to just sit.
No, that's right. And look, I'm going to give credit to physicians too. They are under an enormous amount of pressure. They have 15 minutes with their patients, and it's not enough time to talk to people about lifestyle modification. And a lot of the time, a general practitioner will refer a patient with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, etc., maybe a bad CT score or whatever, to a cardiologist. And then the cardiologist has more time, right? And then, but I speak to doctors all the time. I go to a lot of conferences and stuff, and there's two types of doctors, right? The ones who will spend the time, and you might be waiting 45 minutes in their surgery because they're talking to Mrs. Smith, and Mrs. Smith really needs to hear this information. And they will take the time and they will help people understand that they need to change their lifestyle. And that takes coaching. It doesn't just, and that's why coaches exist, right? Because the doctors don't have time. And then there's the other doctors that just go, you know what? I've tried this coaching business and the people don't listen. And it doesn't matter what I say to them. They're not going to do the things. So I just say, you know what? I'm saving me the stress and I'm saving them the stress. I'm just going to give them the pills and send them on their way, or give them the pills and give them a note, like a website, or, you know, like just the basic stuff. And that's sad, because I don't know about you, but I've been to the doctor before with an issue, and they've given me 17 pages of printout, and it's just gone in the bin, right? I don't read it and go click on the links. It's just like, you just don't do that. So with my book and with my personal work that I do with people, I don't do long-term private coaching. I do what I call strategy sessions, where people come to me and they say, look, I've been trying all the things and I'm stuck and it's not working, fix it. And I'm pretty good I'm a fixer, right? But with the book and working with me personally, people, they've got 73,000 words in here, right? So they're going to learn the things, and it might take them a few months. But
Hmm.
it's not like I've said, oh, I've got 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you it all in 15 minutes. You can't learn lifestyle change in 15 minutes. You just
No,
cannot.
that's true.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. And it takes so much practice. And then people, I think, sometimes are confused on what is lifestyle change.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even know what they're doing is
No.
wrong. Or
Right.
I shouldn't say wrong. I should say
Right.
they don't even know what's doing is harming them more
Uh,
than it's helping them. And
exactly.
that's a thing. And I focus a lot on nutrition. Absolutely, I encourage people to move. Exercise is so important. I know you're full on into exercise, and I
Mhm.
used to be an exercise physiologist and a personal trainer, and I've always suggested that people need to move every single day and lift weights
Mhm.
and do the work, right? But
Right.
um, nutrition is a key pillar to
Yes.
changing your lifestyle. You can go to the gym 5 days a week, but if you're still eating, 3 meals a day at McDonald's, nothing's going to change for you. Now, I'm sure people don't eat
Mhm.
3 meals a day at McDonald's, but what I'm saying is, you know what I mean? Like if you continue to eat the way that has made you sick, and I'm not just talking about putting on weight, I'm talking about high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Maybe you've got rosacea on your face. Maybe your hair's falling out. You've got joint pain. People think that being unhealthy is like, oh, I've put on weight and I'm tired. No, there's so many things going on in your
Oh, yes.
body that once you clean up your diet, those things just either minimize or disappear. And you're like, oh, I don't have sore shoulders anymore. What's that got to do with the food that I eat? Or I can run to the bus, not that anybody in America catches a bus, but I can run to wherever I need to run to the post office before it closes because all of, I'm not getting puffed anymore. And how did that
Mhm.
happen? Oh, it's magic. It's not magic. It's got a lot to do with what you eat. And people just think food equals fat or skinny, and that's it.
Mhm.
And that's not what's going on. Food is fuel, just
Yes.
like you've got fuel in your car. If you put the wrong fuel in your car won't run properly. And the human body is such an amazing machine. It will run
Mm.
substandard for a
Oh,
really, really long time. And you won't even know it's substandard until you start to fuel it properly. And you're like, oh, is this what it feels like to be healthy? Wow.
right. No, exactly. That's interesting you brought that up because I was literally just thinking of that yesterday. Like food is so important and it isn't just calories in, calories out.
Mm.
It fuels and causes so many processes and so many reactions throughout the entire body. But we can't like go up to a client and go, hey, this is extremely complicated. Let's make it really hard, right? Because then you scare everyone away. And the same thing even applies to exercise and the way that your body moves. But you are right. Our body will function substandard for a very, very long time. But it's almost like you need a second set of eyes for someone to look in and go, well, we could function better if we changed this small thing. And then just making those small changes over a period of time really helps to bring up health and really helps clients to achieve better outcomes.
Yes. And also, Clarissa, what I have found in my practice and with my own life, and just by being as old as I am, over time, you realize small changes can make really big, have really big effects. So people like to quantify things. Oh, I did this food thing for
Yeah.
like a month and I only lost 1 pound. Well, a month is not really long enough, but if you had have gone to the doctor and got a blood test, you may have seen that your cholesterol dropped and that your
Mhm.
uh, blood pressure dropped, which is not a blood test, but you may have got your blood pressure taken. You may have found that you had less your triglycerides had improved, your liver function had
Mhm.
improved, and you don't see that on the scale. All
No.
you do is you look in the mirror and you're like, 1 pound, I did all this for a month and I lost 1 pound. But
Right.
awesome things are happening. If you were eating well and lifting weights at the same time, like over that month, you may have put on a little bit of muscle. Not a lot, but you might have put on a little bit, and that might have offset the amount of fat that you were losing. So you might not see it on the scale, but really awesome things are happening. And people just expect that if they make a change, whatever that change is, they want a result.
Yes.
Yeah. And the result that they expect may not be the result that's actually happening. So in the book, and I just say this to anybody who will listen, don't focus on the result, focus on the daily habits that you're doing, and the result will just come. And I like to talk about when I ran my first marathon. The marathon was the result. And in order to get to the marathon, I had to run, 4 times a week. I had to run. And sometimes I'd look at my schedule because I had a plan, and I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to run 10 miles. I've never run 10 miles before. I've only run 9 miles is the most I've ever run. How am I ever going to run 10 miles? But because I trusted the plan, and I knew that if I did what was on the plan, I would get to the start of the marathon, I just ran the 10 miles. And then I was like, oh, that happened. Like, I just did it. And so if we focus on what we have to do today and then just do it, after it's done, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know I could have vegetables for breakfast. Oh my goodness, I did it, and it was quite tasty, and I'm not hungry, and wow, who knew? You know what I mean? So, and then once you do those things again and again and again, that's when health starts to change over a long period of time. And you will start to see the changes down the road, right? So you might be on blood pressure medication, and if you go from a standard Western diet full of ultra processed foods and chemicals and saturated fat and all the bad things, and then you go whole food plant-based, your blood pressure might drop in a week. Yeah. So you really need to have your doctor on board so they can, or at least a blood pressure cuff at home, so that you can call your doctor and say, hey, you know what, my blood pressure's feeling a little bit low. So can I come in and let's check that medication? Because your blood pressure might normalize within weeks. And that really surprises people. And they haven't even lost any weight, right? But their blood pressure's going back to normal.
Right. Yes. No, that's so true. And I think that's, a good point to note, because that's a change that's not on the scale, but it is a super positive change as far as your overall health goes. So I know you have the book that you've written, but as far as like the diet part goes, like obviously standard Western diet directly contributes to lifestyle disease, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, all of those things. But how can a plant-based diet help to, nudge your health back into a more positive place, compared to the standard Western diet?
So I'll tell you what causes ill health in a standard Western diet, and then I'll tell you what causes great health in a plant-based diet. So
There we go.
the things that cause ill health in a standard Western diet are, number one, it's way too many calories.
Yes.
And we eat and I know we don't want to talk about calories in, calories out, but it is a law of nature, and they do count. So
They do.
we don't have to count them if we know what we're doing. But if we don't know what we're doing, and we just randomly, what I call freestyle eating the standard Western diet, each thing we eat is highly energy dense, which means for the size of it, it's got a lot of calories. So we think about a Snickers bar or something like that. For the size of it, it's got a lot of calories. It's 250 calories. In fact, the Mars Corporation, it used to be 268 calories, but the Mars Corporation a few years ago made the Snickers bar smaller, didn't change the formula, just made it smaller in grams or ounces, depending on where you live, so that it was only 250 calories, because they knew people were obsessed with calories. So they thought, we'll make it 250 calories. It's really easy to calculate, and people will still eat the Snickers, right? It's funny, but it's only this big. So you eat the Snickers apart. Let's not talk about what's inside the Snickers, but you eat the Snickers and it takes up this much room in your tummy. Now, your stomach is this, I don't know if people aren't watching, they're just listening. It's the size of your fist when it's empty. And it's the size of, what would I call that? How big is that, Clarissa?
I don't know. Like
it's like the size of a huge grapefruit and a bit more.
Oh, like a pomelo, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a big pomelo, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's only going to hold so much volume. So if you fill that volume with really high density, energy density foods, like your processed foods and things like that, then you're going to be eating way, way more calories than you need, and you're going to be putting on weight, because when the body ingests more calories than it needs, it either, one, builds muscle, two, puts on fat. Now, if you're not training to be a bodybuilder, then more likely than not, you're going to store that as fat, particularly if you're a woman. Look, I know there's been studies that some men can eat garbage diets, and if they're lifting weights, they're going to put on muscle. And look, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a prime example of that. Back in the 70s, he ate the worst diet ever, yet he was the most built person in the world, right?
Right.
But we're getting way late. So let's talk about, we're going to eat way too many calories. In those calories are going to be chemicals that we don't know what they are. We don't know how they react to the human body. There's going to be animal hormones, stress hormones, sex hormones, all sorts of hormones, because you're eating the animal flesh and that's got the hormones inside it. There's going to be medications that are not meant for human beings, because the animals that are farmed, they are getting medications because they need them, because they're being farmed in cramped conditions. And, you know, plus there's going to be a ton of saturated fat, and saturated fat clogs your arteries, gives you heart disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, cognitive decline, all sorts of nasty things. So that's the standard Western diet. And I'm not saying American diet, because it's Australia, it's UK, it's Canada, it's in the Western world, right? So, but then, and the other thing that it's devoid of is fiber.
Yes.
So you might also be getting gut issues, having constipation, bloating, you might get polyps in your colon, which can lead to colon cancer, all the nasties. Yeah, I'm painting a terrible picture because it's the truth.
Right.
And then when you switch to a whole plant foods diet, you are eliminating tons and tons of calories, because whole plant foods are very nutrient dense, meaning they have a lot of vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, fiber, but very few calories. So you can eat a big volume. You can eat the big pomelo size full stomach worth, but you're not getting 4,000 calories. You're getting 2,000 calories, because you're eating the same volume of food. You're not feeling starving, but you're getting all the nutrients. So we miss out on most of the saturated fat. There's only two plant compounds that have a lot of saturated fat, and that is palm oil, and coconut oil. Look, cashew nuts probably have what I would consider a little bit too much saturated fat, but who's eating, you know, gallons and gallons of cashew nuts, right? You eat a few cashew nuts as part of a balanced diet. So there's those. So we're not getting as much saturated fat. We're also not getting any of the hormones and medications. We're not getting any of the ultra-processed chemicals and franken-food additives and things like that that go into ultra-processed foods. So you're losing all the bad stuff and you're gaining all the good stuff. So the human body just says, hallelujah. You know, all of a sudden, I was being attacked by chemicals and saturated fat and all the things I didn't want, and I was trudging along, begrudgingly doing all the processes inside me that I need to do to survive. And here you are attacking me with all these bad things. And all of a sudden, oh my goodness, we've got nutrients. We've got phytonutrients, which are antioxidant, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory. We've got fiber. Oh my goodness, my gut starts to work now. All of a sudden, I can go to the toilet regularly and eliminate all those toxins. My skin's clearing up. I'm getting better sleep. I'm getting into a better mood. I'm feeling like I want to have sex when before I just wasn't into it. All the things are happening when you start getting rid of the bad and start eating the good.
Yes, yes, that's so true. Those are extremely vivid pictures on both accounts, and they're 100% accurate. Like I don't know, how long have you been plant-based, Terry?
I became vegetarian at age 18, so 40
Okay.
years ago,
Yeah.
and I became vegan, whole food, plant-based in 2015.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, I went vegan in 2016. So yeah, and I remember, and I'd been vegetarian before that, and I remember just feeling better. Like my digestion felt so much better. And my mood, yes, like all of the depression just went away. And I didn't change anything else. And I'd been exercising for years, so we can't blame it on endorphins or anything. But it was
Mm.
just that small change of eliminating eggs and dairy.
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Eliminating the eggs and dairy makes a huge
Huge.
difference.
Yes.
And look, I don't know about you. How long were you vegetarian for?
Um, a long time. I became vegetarian back, I want to say like when I was 17, probably.
Right,
And then
like
I
me,
had some,
right, for a long time.
yeah. And then I had babies and they scared me. They're like, you have to have meat because of iron, you're going to bleed to death. And so like
There.
I'd go back, but I always felt so bad. And so I'd have the baby and then go back to vegetarian.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So my kids were brought up vegetarian because I
Okay.
was vegetarian at the time and I was vegetarian when I was pregnant. But I thought that I had angel wings and a halo when I was vegetarian because I thought I was doing the best thing for
Yeah.
the planet, for the cows, for me. And then when I started reading the science and I found out, well, actually, eggs and dairy actually not good for you. And all of a
Right.
sudden the halo got brighter, right?
Yes. Well, and too, if you think about it, eggs and dairy have like some of the highest hormonal concentrations because the milk
Yes.
is made for a baby cow. When we have milk for a baby, it has the things that the baby needs. We're not baby cows, and we're getting that
Yeah.
yogurt and cheese and cottage cheese, and then they like to put dairy in just about everything. And an egg is actually it's like a follicle. Like,
That's right.
yeah, I can't
Yeah.
even think of another higher hormonal concentration.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And hormones are not just sex hormones, right? They're
Right.
all over our body. It's
Yes.
insulin, it's your thyroid hormone. It's all hormones, they're all over the body and they do 1,000 different things. And if you are attacking them with hormones from another species, your body's like, what? This is what I've got to deal with? Like, hang on a minute. So we get rid of the other. I mean, people are all upset about GMO food. Like,
Yes.
I don't want to buy a soybean if it's been GMO. Well,
Right.
dude, you've been eating the secretions of another species forever. It's the
Right.
same thing,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So, and by the way, soy that people eat is not GMO. Just saying.
No, I know.
The
Like,
soy that is GMO is what they feed the cows and the
yes.
sheep and the pigs and whatever. And so you're getting that by default if
Right.
you're eating those animals or drinking their milk or eating the cheese and yogurt and stuff like that. So we want to, the thing I find is that there's information is dangerous if you only have a little bit of it. So
Yes.
you can get on your high horse and you can stand with your flag and, you know, whatever it is. But if you don't have all the information, what you may be standing for is tricking you. You think you're standing for health, but in fact, the information that you have is not complete. So you don't know. And then, like that, like if I take the anti-GMO and the drinking milk thing, it's like, it's just people, it's the same thing.
Right. Right. No, that is so true. And I think that you're completely right. They don't have enough information. They don't think about it. Why would they think about it? They don't even know what food is going to make them feel better versus what food is making them feel not good.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that most people, and this is not a slur on anybody, but most people don't have a master's degree in nutrition, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh.
the information that they have comes from advertising, it comes from the
Mm-hmm.
internet, it comes from the packets of the food, what they say on the front of the packet. And
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
true.
people don't live their life like I do, absolutely obsessed by nutrition. People just they live their life, right? And they're doing
Right.
all their
Yeah.
things, and they have to put food in their tummy, and they just eat it, and it's whatever. They don't care, or they don't think about it. But as soon as you tell people that you eat plants, all of a sudden people have a master's in nutrition or a doctorate in nutrition. Magically,
Right.
it comes from the sky.
Yeah.
Don't you know? Don't you know you need meat to survive?
Yes. Well, I guess we're both dead then.
Yeah, but I can't fault people for not knowing, because it's not their
No,
job to know,
it
right?
is not.
So,
No, that's our
so
job to
that's
know.
yeah, so that's why I wrote the book, so that I could give people the knowledge. It's all backed by science. There's all references in there of all the scientific studies that I quote, but it's in normal people language. It's
That's
not in
fantastic.
I've been to university and I know all the fancy words language. It's in normal people language that you can read it. And I've had people say to me, in fact, this is the most of the response I've got about the book is, oh my God, I feel like you're just with me, talking to me, like you're my friend. And that I'm trying to help you, the person reading the book, understand why what you might be doing now is making you sick, and that I want to help you get unsick. It's that simple. It's like, let's help you get out of the murky mud that you're in now, and I'll bring you into the light, and you can start to take action, and all of a sudden you'll understand how magnificent a human body can be.
Right. No, that's amazing. I was just going to ask you if your book was written like in the way that you talk, because it is super easy to have a conversation with you. And if so, then it would make the book very easy to read, I would think, for people.
Yeah, thanks so much, Clarissa. Yeah, I've written it the way I talk. And my husband, who writes for a living, he's not an author. He writes documents, really boring documents for companies. Um, he said, no, 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 don't write the way you talk. And I said, no, no, I have to write the way I talk, because this is who I am, and I want to
Yeah.
help people, and this is the way I help people. If I wrote like a university course, it'd be dry and boring, and nobody would understand what I was saying. And so
Right.
I had to write as if I was sitting down with you, having a cup of tea, and we're having a chat. That's the way the book is, so that you can understand what goes on. And it's always the why. Like if I said, Clarissa, stop eating those eggs and dairy. Just pretend you were still eating
Right.
them. You go, why? Like,
Exactly.
why would I do that? You know, I like them. I like quiche. I like yogurt. I like cheese. Why would I do that? I have to tell people the end result, what happens to their health, so that they understand why they want to
Mhm.
stop doing that. Because if you don't tell people why, they're just like, why would I do that? That's
Okay.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a coaching aspect. So that comes through in your book too. That's really cool. So, do you want to go over like a few key points about your book, and then we'll let people know where they could find that if they'd like to?
Thank you so much. Yes. So the book is like a how-to guide. It takes you from the beginning, where I tell you all about my experience losing my dad, and why I want to help everybody. And then it gives action steps that you can take on a daily basis to get to where you want to go. It doesn't get the chapter that it finishes at, there's 26 chapters. And chapter 26 is all recipes. So there's 31 recipes in there that you can try. But it's not until chapter 21 that I get to, okay, now you can start doing it. So there's 20 chapters telling you how to do it, what steps you need to take, practical steps, how to go to the supermarket, how to shop, how to read nutrition labels, how to deal with people when they try and push their unhealthy food on you, how to clean out your environment so that you can, when you're hungry, when you open up your fridge, the only thing in your fridge is healthy food. So there's lots of action steps to get to chapter 21, where you start to put it all together. And at the end of each chapter is a workbook. So there's a quiz, and the quiz is hopefully funny, because I always put, it's always true and false, right? So I always put a really stupid statement in there, which makes no sense, to see if you're paying attention, and it's always funny. So There's a quiz, usually 3 or 4 questions, really easy questions if you've read the chapter. It's not like university. It's just true or false. Is this true? Is this false? And then there's a space to journal. How do you feel today? What did you learn today? What could you do better tomorrow? What are some things you're going to implement from this chapter? So it gets people thinking, not I'm going to just read this book and then throw it on the shelf and then never look at it again. It gets people making changes so they can go, I learned today that super high energy dense foods like, fried foods and chips and snack foods actually are detrimental to me. And maybe I can start eating high nutrient dense foods like fresh fruits and vegetables and snacks like that, or homemade cookies that are in the back of the book that have whole foods. Oh, what can I try today? And then they're making steps. They're not just reading a book and putting it on the shelf. I say that if I ever meet somebody at a book signing or a speech that I do, and they've already purchased my book and they bring the book for me to sign, if it looks like this, all beautiful and new and clean and gorgeous, I'm going to be really disappointed. I want it to be dirty. I want it to have fingerprints in it. I want it to be highlighted and have sticky notes and torn, maybe not torn, but folded over pages and notes in the margin, because I want the book to be alive for people, because I want them to use it to change their life. So that's why I put the workbook in the back of every single chapter.
No, that is amazing. And I know, like, personally, I find that people retain the information so much better when there are a couple follow-up questions. Like you said, not like a test, but just something like, did you really understand what you just read?
Yeah. So there's a chapter on how to read nutrition labels, and I worked with a woman who helped me with formatting it and stuff. And she read the chapter and she said, I still don't know how to read a nutrition label. I said, well, no, you should know how to read a nutrition label because that was in the chapter. So I rewrote it so that it made more sense to people. And then she came back and she went, oh my gosh, I didn't know that there was so much misinformation on a nutrition label. Most people believe the nutrition label. And because hello, it's been regulated by the FDA, right? So yes, there's truth on the nutrition label, but the truth is hidden. And when somebody asks you a question, but you don't want to lie to them, you just don't tell them all the answer. You just tell them the bit that you want them to know. You don't want to lie to them, but you just want to tell them the bit you want them to know. Well, that's a nutrition label. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It looks like it's telling you all the information, but there's tricky, sneaky things in there, and it's not telling you all the information. So I teach people how to read nutrition labels, and once they learn how to do that, it's like their world opens. They're like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking I've been buying healthy products because of what's on the front. High in fiber, high in protein, low in fat, whatever the thing is. Great source of whole grains. They put all these like advertising slogans on the front, which are legally bind. They're true. They're not falsities because they wouldn't be allowed to be on the front. But then they go to the back and they're like, oh, so this yogurt says on the back on the nutrition label, it's 9% saturated fat. Oh, that's not too bad. But when I do the calculations, it's actually 57%. Maybe I'll rethink that. Right. So once people learn things, then they get, all of a sudden, it's like little fireworks start going off on people's heads, and they become more aware. I know you did a podcast with a lady, I can't remember her name, and she said the first thing to help people who are dieting is to be aware of what they're doing. Yes. And it's the same with buying food. Right. If you don't know what you're buying and you think, I'm doing all the right things, and you're feeling really great, and then nothing's changing. You're not losing weight. You're not feeling better. Nothing's changing. It's getting worse, particularly postmenopausal women, because all hell breaks loose, right? Oh, yeah. Then it's like, well, you're being kept in the dark because you're being duped by the labels. And once people learn how to read a label, it's like their world opens up, and then they can make real lasting change in the things that they purchase, because then they're not being hoodwinked, so to speak. Right.
Right. No, that's such a good point. And it does, it ties to all the things, your health, your hormones, how you're feeling, your mood, gut, all of that. Um, well, Terri, I think we've covered a tremendous amount of information today. Was there anything that you wanted to add that we didn't get a chance to go through?
I just want to tell everybody that you can do it. You can be
Mhm.
healthy, and it's not a big mountain that you have to climb. It's not the hardest thing you'll ever do. If you take things one step at a time and do them at your own pace, you will see lasting change. But like other people on your podcast say, it's not a diet, right? It's not like I'll do it for 2 weeks and then go back
Oh,
to the normal way of it. And you say that too, right? It's a lifestyle. So you have to commit, you have to try, and if something doesn't work for you, that's okay. Just try again. If you don't like one particular vegetable, that's okay. Don't throw it out and never try it again. Try a different cooking method, try a different recipe, follow other people on the internet. I'm not like the guru of all gurus. There's hundreds of us all over the internet all saying the same thing, and we want you to be as healthy and happy as you can be. So take little bits from all of us and do what works for you, and then just keep
mhm.
doing it, and then just keep doing it and keep doing it. And pretty soon you'll forget about that old lifestyle, and you won't miss that double chocolate fudge sundae, because you'll realize that that is not helping your health. I mean, I know you and I, Clarissa, we can go to, say, a diner and not
Mhm.
want a double fudge chocolate sundae because we know
Oh
that
yeah.
it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not even in our wavelength. We're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not eating that.
Yeah. No.
You know, so, and if you are not there yet, if you're like, oh, I could never go to a diner and not eat a double chocolate fudge sundae, well, that's okay. You're not there yet, because it's a process and it takes time. And when you are there, it's like, oh, the world just opens up.
Yes, yes, which does. It takes a lot of repetition, which is fine. And like you and I, neither one of us woke up one day and we're like, oh, we're changing everything overnight. It took
No,
us practice and time and consistency as well. But
yeah.
everyone has to start somewhere, and everyone starting is going to look a little different.
That's true. That's true. So if people want to get more information, my website is fabuloushealth.net. Not .com. I couldn't afford it. It was $12,000.
Oh my gosh.
Fabuloushealth.net. Fabuloushealth.net. And it has all the things there. We've got some freebies there. You can get the book there. You can book me, all the things. There's blogs, there's recipes, there's all sorts of stuff there. And I am doing some signed copies of the book to people who live in the USA. And if people, I'm sorry to everybody who doesn't live in the USA, and I know you have listeners all over the world, but I just can't afford to post it to you. It's like $40 to post the book to England or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you live in the USA, I will sign you a copy, and you can get that at either fabuloushealth.net or fabuloushealthbook.net. Your choice.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Um, I think we've had a wonderful conversation. I want to thank you for sharing your story. Your story is like so personal, and it is so easy to understand why this is a topic that is so near and dear to your heart, and you're super passionate about it. So, thank you for sharing with us today. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Until next time, Terri.
Thanks, Clarissa, and thanks everybody. Have a great day.